Fanatically Correct. Brought to you by us, fans like you, but mostly us.
In a dark corner of the world, three men will work together to bring you a podcast like no other. This is Fanatically Correct, where the fans, the geeks, and the nerds are always correct. With your host, MSK, YoPeace, and Omega.
Fanatically Correct. It's been a minute, or a second, or a week, or a month, whatever.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it. I think it's been
The
2 months, 3 months.
The kids today say.
Yeah.
This is Fanatically Correct. I am your host, Omega.
YoPeace.
And we're going to go ahead and start off with some apologies. This is probably going to be a pretty rough episode for multiple reasons. So in advance, apologies for coughs, sneezes, profanity. We won't apologize for spoilers because we're warned before we start on the spoiler stream, of the nonstop spoiling of today's topic. So, but yeah, in advance, apologies for a rough episode, more or less. One of those reasons, our technical department has had a new addition to their family, so things are more complicated for the technical department. Congrats!
Congrats! Congratulations!
I'd share the baby's name because it's in so many ways iconically nerdy. But I'll let MSK share that when he's on again because it has multiple angles of things we watch in the nerdverse. I mean, it's a solid name. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that it also happens to be the name of characters in certain shows and movies that are iconic. So I love the name. It's a great.
So it's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, it's no, what's from Die Hard? It's John McCain. John McCain. John McCain K. MSK.
Yeah.
Like
it's he named it James Bond.
I'm sure a lot of people think MSK are his initials. So yeah, we'll just say K. It's a John McClane K. James Bond K. It's like a really long name. It's like we know there's like Spanish names or like have 15 last names.
Yeah, it's all put
Bruce
together.
Bruce Wayne, James Bond, Christopher Nolan,
Jack Ryan,
Scarlett Johansson. Oh man!
And then the last name.
Yeah, so there's the starters with that technical department might not be able to get around to editing this, so you're getting all of this rough, or at least somewhere in the middle when the spoilers start. Today's topic is Watchmen, the series on HBO, and MSK hasn't jumped on that yet, so obviously he won't be listening to once we get into the spoiler parts of the series. So yeah, again, and last time, apologies for the roughness. This will be a rough Watchmen. Roughman is what this will be. Roughman. Yeah. Rough.
Well,
so,
that joke is really bad. Let's leave it there.
Pretend that was edited out, audience. That was fast forward or something. I don't know. So yeah, we're gonna talk Watchmen, the HBO series. It just wrapped up. YoPeace and I have one of the few shows that we just gotta watch weekly. For myself, Mr. Robot is another one, and hopefully soon I'll get around to that with MSK because that's about to series finale very soon. And
and I have not seen it. I'm personally behind like 2-3 seasons, so I'm not even sure anymore.
I don't think you're that far behind, but yeah, maybe. But now you'll get to binge it through. It'll be one of those days where the rarity and just sit there and just nonstop watch. So yeah, we're gonna get into the Watchmen series. A little bit of quick catch up. We know it's been a bit since we recorded. Quick responses. Mandalorian, fantastic. YoPeace.
Yes. Fantastic? Oh yes, I agree. Fantastic. I agree 100%.
The Boys, fantastic.
Fantastic.
Disney Plus recreating life and bringing back childhood.
Yep. X-Men. Gargoyles.
Oh yeah. It's just and Mandalorians is great. I mean, Disney Plus is just dropping so much on that stream. It's doing pretty good. So yeah, we got Star Wars is about to come out, so hopefully we'll have a Star Wars EP as well, and there's gonna be plenty to nerd about. And just a reminder, soon in a few weeks is also Stan Lee's birthday, so it'll be a sport your Marvel, sport your comic book, sport your nerd comic book love day basically. in the month of December, which I think is a fantastic thing because the December is about family, and it's a month because of all the holidays that
it's
people have
perfect
traditions. And
I'm telling you, we need a
Stanley's
day.
a great way to
We
do it.
need a day off with it.
Honestly, yeah, they should. That and Super Bowl a Sunday, which is just nobody cares about it anymore. Just they want the day off.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because 9 out of 10 Super Bowl parties you go to, nobody's watching the Super Bowl.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah. Everyone gathers around for the halftime, and this halftime is what, Jennifer Lopez and Shakira. So everyone gathers around for the halftime, and everyone gathers around for the commercials. The actual game, I think 75% of people don't really watch.
Yeah,
it.
well, just maybe just the fans of whoever's playing, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, maybe, maybe. It's a Sunday, man. There's a lot of good things on Sundays, especially now. I mean, this you got the Crisis thing going on. We'll talk about that here and there. I'm sure you're not getting on that yet, which I probably don't. I would tell the fans wait till January so you can just knock it out in It's 5 episodes only, so to watch 3 in a row. I mean, unless you're caught up on the Arrowverse and you're a weekly watcher of all these shows and continue doing what you're doing. But if you're just tuning in for Crisis, wait till mid-January when it's all wrapped up, all 5 episodes, and jump
you lost me. What were we talking about again?
in there. Crisis on Infinite Earth.
Oh, that, yeah.
Because, in fairness, Watchmen's a DC property. That's a DC property. And just to bring up some stuff, HBO, speaking of DC properties, Watchmen's not the only one. They are picking up 2 shows that somehow are spinning off of the Arrowverse on CW are going to be HBO shows.
I mean,
well,
sure.
One's gonna be a Green Lantern series. That on HBO, I think is a good idea because I don't think it focuses on one particular Green Lantern. It's going to be very Games of Thrones-ish in the sense of it's going to tell multiple stories streaming across, spanning across the galaxies and universe of the Green Lantern. So yeah, they'll probably focus mostly on Earth because less CGI, and that's the most relatable to the audience. So You'll get the Hal Jordan and the Guy Gardners and of course my favorite Jon Stewart. You'll get into all of that. So I think that has a lot of potential. And then there's another show that's their answer, DC's answer to the What If of Marvel. It's an anthology series. I don't remember the name of it now, but I know that the first season's all about Booster Gold. Whether he remains the main character throughout the series or not, they're using him to jumpstart that series. But I mean, it's gonna be a while before these shows come out. But they're all gonna be, the reason I'm bringing them up, they're all getting hinted at some point within the Crisis, a mini series that they're doing on CW. Right. And of course, it's throwing in everything. Basically, what DC's done is saying everything outside of certain films, because I'm not going to spoil that, but there are certain DC films that have now been brought in to the multiverse of the DC Arrowverse. Mm-hmm. So they're basically saying all universes with the exception of certain films. Obviously, the most recent ones, they're not going to bring that into it at all. And then certain other ones aren't included as of yet. I don't know. It hasn't finished yet. But they did bring in some films. They brought in pretty much almost all the shows that I didn't even know worked with DC in any fashion. It got, to me, it's a little weird. But yeah, they brought in a couple of other shows that aren't the typical DC heroes that we know about. So it's something. It's definitely no Watchmen. It's definitely no Boys. It's definitely no Umbrella Academy. It's definitely no anything. But it's worth watching. They're going big, bringing in a lot of cameos, a lot of little finishing storylines. I'm looking forward to it because I know, it's in it. My Flash, John Wesley Shipp, the original Flash, who plays the Flash's father in the series. They bring back that Flash. That Flash, which they had already done before in the Arrowverse, but they're going to be doing some more of it, and they do a little Easter egg and a note drop to the original series of the Flash. So it's a total nostalgia thing as well. It's fan service, and it's rushed. I think it should have been an 8-parter, because you could feel the rushness of it. But it's it's an hour TV 5 times in a row. Probably worth doing. I don't think I'll put that as the necessity, and we'll actually do something different. We're kind of going to start with a necessity.
You said that before.
I always say this: we're gonna do something different. We're gonna do something different. You know what's gonna be different when I say we're not gonna do something different. When I don't say it, because even then saying it will still be the
Yeah, that's true.
So, but yeah, this is actually different in our formatting, where we always end with a necessity.
Right.
So hopefully we'll remember at the end. We'll remind the necessity, but obviously, because it's Watchmen, we got to say it. The comic books, the movie. What would you do first? The comic books, then the movie, or the movie, then the comic books?
I probably
What
would
did you do?
Obviously the comic book and then the movie.
Is that what you personally did, or like did you read
Yeah,
comic
so
books and then watch one?
comic books. I did it late. To be honest, I think I did the comic books almost before the movies came out. So I did it really late.
Yeah, I did the movie first.
You did the movie first, yeah. So I did the comic books before the movie came out. But I think doing the comic book, it's better. I think it's better in that sense. I don't know how I would have felt watching the movie. Like, did you go back and had to understand it?
Yeah, see, that's what I was gonna say. Is that what you're touching on right there? Is I'm not sure. I don't think I would. I think if I would have read the comic book and then saw the film, I would have been okay with it. I don't think I would have had any issues with the movie. But I'm positive for sure I didn't, because I didn't. So the movie just blew my mind. I thought it was fantastic. There's a lot of split between fans as to whether the film actually holds up to the comic book, and a lot of people were just, back then.
Of course, people are always disappointed.
Yeah. The trolls weren't as bad back then because the internet and a lot of the social media did not exist back then, so it was not as bad. I'm sure it'd be a lot louder vocally now. Yeah. I know a lot of people say the director's cut is better because it is closer to the comic book. I don't remember seeing the director's cut. I don't think I have. And I'm not sure. Maybe MSK has seen it when he comes on about this. Obviously, we'll go back to Watchmen after he watches it. Maybe not do a whole episode, but we're going to obviously talk about it. But I don't remember if they do the pirate story, because there's a whole pirate thing that actually it's Easter egged in the series, and I think it's Easter egged in the film as well. But I'm not sure if the director's cut has a whole thing about that. I just know that the director's cut is closer to the ending in some of the specifics as the comic book. Outside of that, I still feel that it captured what the ending's supposed to be, and it captured the mentality and the thought process of the story that they're telling. So for me, I don't think I would have had an issue with it, but I know a lot of people wanted it to be like spot on specifically. To the comic books.
I didn't have an issue with it. I think it worked perfectly for the film, and it kept it more grounded. I know it's a comic book, and I know we're living in this fantasy, but for the movie, visually, at that time, it worked better. And the story, whatever they did with the movie, the ending that they did with the movie, I felt was better. In my point of view, it was better for visually. Like trying to explain that. I mean, I don't want. We're gonna get into spoilers soon.
Once we get to spoilers, we'll get a little bit more detailed. Right. But yeah, I get what you're saying there. But
trying to explain that in a movie visually for people that are not fans, that would have been crazy for people that don't even know about the comic book. What? Yeah. What am I walking into? What is this?
Yeah. I feel for the necessity, I would strongly recommend at least watch the movie. It's a little bit less commitment than a whole volume. Watchmen is one single volume. That's what's beautiful about the series, is that it's an extrapolation, a continuation, basically, of the details of the comic book. However, it's a full volume, so you got to read it, all the way through to get it. I think the film, even though it's a long film, I feel it gears you up to then watch a series, and it's probably a quicker way to get into it. I would strongly recommend, if especially if you're listening to this episode. I mean, what are you doing? I think we're about to spoil Watchmen insanely in a little bit, and so if you're gonna check out, because we're just gonna do a quick basic review, then you're good. And again, that's why the necessity we're being said. Watch at least the film first, then you can jump straight into the series. Just acknowledge that a lot of details are going to be different, because the theatrical release of the film, at least, definitely has a lot of details.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like, especially that's, I mean, they're gonna be confused. They're gonna have to go back
Yeah.
and do some research on their own.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line. If you jump from the film to the actual series, like not the comic book, but the HBO series, then you're going to be confused. I'm just being straight up. You're gonna be confused.
I say indulge in the full experience, and I would personally, the strongest recommendation I make is if you're gonna really nerd it up, just dive in, watch a theatrical version, read the comic book, watch the director's cut, jump into the series.
Yeah.
Okay, and especially with all that fresh under your belt, you're gonna, I mean, there's things that I find about because I watch YouTube afterwards and they point out a lot of the Easter eggs. You know, if you really want to nerd it up, know those Easter eggs. Go in already prepared with all of this fresh off, fresh on your mind, and enjoy catching it yourself. You know, it's like playing a video game without a walkthrough. You know what I mean? It's so much more enjoyable when you do it yourself, you know, as opposed to like just regurgitate and just do the step-by-step process that was already shown to you.
Right.
Is what I would recommend. So,
And I know it's harder. It's easy for us to say, go get the comic books, because, I mean, you got to pay for this, right? And there's always means and ways of doing it. But realistically, you're going to watch the movie and watch the series, because that's just the easiest way of doing it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's what most people are going to do. If you can nerd it up, I feel that's a strong enough base. It's going to pique your interest, and you're going to probably go on YouTube or then do the research after, because you're going to want to know all these little Easter eggs and tidbits that they're putting in the series, because they pay a lot of homage and also do a lot of fan service. So these are great writers and creators. A quick review before we give the spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. It's
my favorite voice.
I'll go first. Obviously, if we're doing this episode, it's a fantastic show.
Yes.
I've said it on. I was the one posting most of our commentary on Instagram about it. Just one or two things, and basically, because two of the episodes, I would say, spoiler free, that those are two of the best hours of film and television of 2019, easily.
Yes,
and I'm watching a lot of great shows. Mr. Robot is a great series. Vikings just came back. I haven't dove into it yet, but I know that's a great series. We had great movies this year, between, Endgame and, just so much, nerdism.
Joker.
Had the Boys. Yeah, Boys, the Joker. Oh, wait till we get into a Joker episode, because we're going to really dive into that. Joker's a great film. And, we were expecting and hoping for it to be. A lot of people went in there pessimistic. Box office was not wrong. That is a great film. But with so much out there, I'm still saying strong that these are two of the best, not the best, of the best. So, wrap it up within maybe 20 hours for 2019. If you can only watch 20 hours of film or television this year, episode 6 and episode 8 of Watchmen are definitely in there. Because just as story itself, the way they present the episodes, cinematography, the filming, the acting,
the story,
the stories, just everything about those episodes just are mind-blowing. And that's only because those are the two best. The whole series is excellent. Episodes 1 through 9, it is great. It is fantastic. You will not regret it. That's my stance. Any details you'd like to give that aren't spoiler details, YoPeace?
No, I mean, you nailed it, man. Like, I was mind blowing for me, man, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. At some points, I was like, I just couldn't believe it, like, because apart from being fan base and all this, it was like a new. Oh man, I just don't want to give anything away.
It's a fresh perspective. It's a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot like Westworld was. I can compare it a lot to Westworld because it's the same thing. It's taking a story that we know. It's not a full reboot, because Westworld's like a reboot, a remake of a story. Right. This is a continuation, extrapolation of, but it is like Westworld in the sense where it's a fresh new look at film, at television, at a story, it's not at all, and that's something we're gonna do too. It's like The Boys, like Umbrella Academy, like Doom Patrol, like so much superhero stuff that's being done right now. They're getting
good
out of the box,
really
like the
things,
Joker. Like the Joker, they're doing something different and different from what's different. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of the Joker, and they're all not doing the same thing as each other. They're all doing their own different take on telling superhero stories, because they know everybody wants to see superheroes, but we don't want to get that that they're not the just the over the overbearingness of just too much superhero, of getting the just we don't want too much of it. You know what I mean? We just want to relax and not get overindulged. And it's just great storytelling. And you can look at it, especially Watchmen itself, as a non-superhero show in the way they tell things. I mean, just it's beautiful in some episodes. I mean, that's the word I have to use. Beautiful. There's beauty in some of these episodes. So definitely a must watch. If you have even a little bit of nerd in you, you will enjoy this series. I mean, it's that simple. And I know there's just things we're dying to get detailed about. So here we go. This is the warning. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. We're gonna dive in. Let's do this.
Let's go.
We'll start. I have my favorite episode. And I think we'll just go into our favorite episodes first. But there's obviously, I said 6 and 8. I'm pretty sure, aside from the Looking Glass episode, which I think is 4. Is that episode 4? Or that might have been episode 5. That might have been episode 5. Well, 4 or 5, but the Looking Glass episode is a fantastic episode. Obviously, between 6 and 8, which is your favorite?
Man.
I have a definite favorite. Mine is definitely 8, like for sure. But 6 is fantastic. 6 is mind-blowing.
You want like so you want the favorite episode of the whole season?
Yeah.
Man, that is such a tough one because
really.
Well, I tell you what, because 9 was really good, it was a great closing for 8.
I
think 8 has to be my favorite one. Like, I enjoy 8 so much. Everything that happened on 8 was such a. Oh man, I think you said it best. It was, and this is for spoilers alert. It was one of the best love stories.
Yes.
On TV.
Yeah. Yeah, hands down. And I'll tell you right now, in nerdism, and this is what I said I think on Instagram. If not, I might have said it on WhatsApp in one of the groups or between us. But in sci-fi, in comic book, and let me tell you now, there's a lot of good love stories out there. Obviously, Han Solo, Leia is a nerd tradition, but it's not like the best told love story. It's a good love story. It's an iconic one. I love you, I know. But it's not like a told. Told, I think Highlander, the first film, the original, that story of him staying by her side forever while he's immortal and she ages, she gets old, and he stays with her, and her never telling him what happened to her with the villain. To her. Yep. Yeah. And all of that, the way it's presented, and the Queen song. I mean, that's pretty much the only thing this episode is missing is a Queen song. But even then, the music that they use is genius. Because I'll be honest, that's one thing HBO does great, is they're really good at using music and scores to tell their stories. And like MSK is gonna nerd out about that like crazy when he gets in on this. But that's all it's missing is a Queen song to like completely over the top. But yeah, out of all the love stories that I know, that I remember from sci-fi,
I'm sorry, but just to cut you off, but there is a song in it.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, with the Tunnel of Love, right?
Yeah, which is oh my god, it was
genius.
I'm sorry, I had to interrupt you because that song was just like...
Oh, yeah, you had to bring it up. But that's what I was going to... Yeah, I usually... You're really good at that, and especially the lyrics and the harmony and the way they present the episode. So, I mean, back to it, but like that's what I was saying, Highlander is the only other one that comes close. This, by far, and we're going full-out spoilers, so it's what I got to say. The fact that, the story itself, he loved her, and that's what I love about season 9, completely wraps it up. They don't go back on it. They went for it, and that's the thing. I was a little worried. I'm like, nah, it's HBO. They're not gonna. Was that maybe they do save him? Maybe just this one episode's gonna be good, and the finale's gonna kind of like, it would have been better if they just would have stuck to it. No, they stuck to it.
Yeah,
their relationship ends tragically. The tragedy, it's his end. Dr. Manhattan is dead. I mean, that's it. I hope no one was jumping around on the podcast. We will give the minutes that we're safe or weren't safe. If you just heard that, I'm not sorry. You should know better. Dr. Manhattan is dead. Number one, now going to the comic book for a second, to continue with this series, you got to kill off a Dr. Manhattan.
Yes.
That's too much. Everyone talks about Superman, a cop-out. No. Dr. Manhattan is the cop-out. It's God. It's a God. It's like that. There's no fighting him at all. He could be everywhere at once. He is everywhere at once. He could create. He can destroy. He can there's no. You can't have Dr. Manhattan be a main character in a series and there be conflict. I mean, that's a great challenge to figure out, which is what they did. How did they take Dr. Manhattan out of the equation? And this is what they did. And I remember at the end, and that's what made episode 7 great. Episode 6, that's why I love they didn't do that reveal.
Episode 6 was pretty good too, man.
It was genius. It was genius, but if they had done the reveal in episode 6 somehow and rushed that, it would have ruined episode 6 because it would have taken away everything that episode 6 was. Episode 7 felt almost like a filler because it was coming after episode 6, which is fantastic the way they told the story there. But that reveal at the end, and I'm sure like you, and I'm sure like the rest of the audience, we already knew before she hit him in the head with the hammer who he was. Yeah. We knew the moment that Lady True said, I just said Dr. Manhattan is a human walking among us, and you didn't ask who. Yeah. And that from that moment on, everyone's going, no way, no way. Yeah. No way. No way. And then in my head for a second, I'm like, maybe he's the kid. Because I'll get back to that in a second. Again, with the kid in episode 9, too. Because I feel something's going to happen with the kid, with the son of the adopted kids. But I'm like, nah, it's going to be the husband. I'm like, I already knew that this guy was too big, about to blow up actor. Yeah. He's a great actor. And like such a small part. And like, yeah, maybe season 2 or 3, he blows up into a bigger part or whatever. But I was like, no, we all knew it. We're like, no way. It's her husband. No way. And you're watching the whole time they're building up. She goes to the kitchen, and while she's talking, it's time to go. You're like, no way, this is not happening. There's no way Dr. Manhattan's in this freaking show. And it just, and I mean, it just, the reveal was genius. And you're just sitting there going, oh my God, I cannot wait to see episode 8. I can't wait. So that's already hard because you give a huge reveal, and now you have to deliver on the next episode because everyone's coming for that next episode extremely excited. Yeah. To see Dr. Manhattan. Mm-hmm. And then they blew our freaking minds and give us an episode that, man, I mean, I'll pause in a second so I can get you all kinds of talking. But I got to give, if I have to take 5 of the best episodes ever in sci-fi and comic books, whatever, 2 of them off the top of my head, I will give one. I know YoPeace, his wife's going to appreciate this. It's from a show called Angel, which came out of the Buffy, the Vampire Slayer universe, where there's an episode where, spoilers, if you haven't seen Angel or you're seeing it or whatever, where they trick, and I know you don't care, they trick they trick Angel because he has an alter personality and jealous, and the whole episode's one of these complete twists at the ends, basically like a Matrix, where the whole episode's fake because it was tricking him into believing he was happy, so he would then turn into his alter ego. Great episode. Just great all the way through. Probably my favorite episode before this is another episode from Star Trek Next Generation. There's an episode where Jean-Luc Picard is getting tortured by a Cardassian. It's an incredible episode of television. It's a lot of one-on-one acting. It's a torturee relationship, and it's one of the best performances by Patrick Stewart ever. But this is definitely in that realm of these type of episodes that stand alone, give you the greatest acting, but everything about it. The format is genius. It jumps around in time, easy to follow though. A lot of hints and cues throughout. And just when I was going to get to the love story, and then I'm going to pause and let you attack it for a bit, is that when it's all said and done, and through episode 9 and the finale, the love story itself, and that's what we're talking about, is so great because he was willing to die, to let all of this happen, just to have those 10 years with her. And when he says his last things to her, when she says, "Where are you?" and he says, "I'm living the 10 years all at once." Yeah. It's just like, I mean, man, I'm not lying. I was a little watery-eyed. I wasn't watery-eyed in episode 8. It's just so moving. It is like, and even my wife, who's not really into the show, liked that episode, liked that moment. You know, she did, of course, the "aw," you know what I mean? Like, it just, it was just, it's such a beautiful moment, incredible dialogue, and just the thought of that, if that's how much he loved her, is that it was worth all of that just to have those 10 years.
Those 10 years, yep.
And I'll react, because, I mean, this is so much, I mean, go nuts. Like,
no, you're right. You're absolutely right. Everyone, I'm sure everyone has their favorite episode on any TV show. I'm not gonna say this is gonna be. It's gonna go up the list for you. Maybe that show holds more of a value for you. But if you sit back and you watch this whole thing portrayed in front of your eyes, and you're going to sit there, and I'm sure the ones that are listening now, you saw this. Go think about it. Think about the writing, the every single
Everything.
word. It was almost like a, apart from being a genius, it was almost like a perfect episode, man, because
Yes.
I think every line was so deep, so especially on episode 8, it's like everything that was happening and going the back and forth, and the explanation on how he actually lives, and the explanation of how, like the love to go into episode 9, and those words what he said to her, like, man, like he literally
No,
just
It's
he
beautiful.
sacrificed 10 years of his life just to be happy, just to be
Yeah.
happy at the end, because the end is what made it for him. Like, the end for him was, I'm living it all right now. This is it. This is my moment. I'm gonna live every single 10 years. Bro, think about that. Every single second, every single millisecond of those 10 years, he's living it all in once, and that moment
No,
is
I mean,
when
it's
he's
incredibly-
the most happiest right there
Yeah.
before he dies.
No, I mean it's so incredibly metaphoric. Most likely we'll do a supernatural episode, yourself and I, as well. We're big supernatural fans. MSK has not gotten into the series at all. If he thinks he's gonna binge 15 or 16 seasons at some
luck.
point, maybe in the retirement home when he's much older. But regardless, and the reason I say metaphoric is that's one of the things they do with like their version of heaven, and that's a lot of people's version of heaven, is that you relive your happiest moments for eternity. Now, if moments are your last moments, that's your eternity. That's what he did. He was experiencing heaven upon his death, and that's just so metaphoric. You know what I mean? For a being like that, that he's living all the good at once. It's
Yeah.
just like, it's again beautiful. It's just a beautiful moment in film and television ever captured. And it just, I mean, again, in case there's any static on the mics or anything, I'm just gonna throw it out there again. One more apology if this is a rough episode, but
which
if
is
not
I
great,
know it is, but I don't care. Here we
yeah,
are.
I know. But the content is what matters here. But yeah, here's the thing: episode 8 and episode 6, the two things they both have in common. Even the Looking Glass episode where they go back into his background, but specifically 6 and 8. They format very differently. They don't tell you beginning, middle, end. They jump around. One is because of memory, and it has to do with flashbacks, and it's mixing some of her memories, some of her grandfather's childhood memories, and then mixing it into his predominant, the memory of the time that matters when he became Hooded Justice and became the hero that sparks all the other heroes.
So smart.
But specifically detail is 8 because that's where we started, because I think that's your favorite episode too. That's my favorite episode. This series by far is already one of my favorite television series of all time for me. Other people might watch it a year later, feel different. As of right now, I won't. I mean, unless they completely ruin it in a season 2. And one thing I'll say about that is that season 1 was so smart, like Westworld, I'll give that example, because it gave me enough closure that if for whatever reason they can't move forward and get us more seasons, I'm good. It wasn't such a crazy cliffhanger that my imagination can't fill the rest, and I'm done. Like, man, because I hate when a show, and unfortunately it happens every once in a while, they give you that massive cliffhanger and they don't get picked up, and it's like, what did I just watch this for? And then you have audacity to put it back out and stream, like, oh yeah, watch this great show that never got made again, and guess what? You're gonna get screwed on the cliffhanger. No, this was done so well that I don't have to have a second season, but it's done so well. I want that second season. So it's just genius. They did a great job in closing that. So getting back to episode 8, and as a season as a whole, is what that episode does. Completely retells the format. It takes the concept of, which they explain a little bit in the film, and they a little bit more in the comic books, of Dr. Manhattan's ability to be, not ability, but he exists throughout. Basically he exists through his entire time stream all at once. And the only other thing I've seen really detail it the way this has was the movie The Arrival with Amy McAdams, where the alien race comes, and that's what spoiler alert, that's what it's about. This alien race gives you the ability to live through your whole time stream relevantly. So you just jump from your beginning of your time stream to the end of your time stream at any point, but then using that to affect your time stream, which I'm going to get to something real quick that was genius, and I love the way they did it, because he's always existed everywhere at once, but he's never affected. Like, in other words, he's always taken effect. He's never been the effector when he does that. that
Right.
he's never experienced a paradox.
That's
so
crazy.
the moment that was just the way the paradox happened, that it actually blew his mind and was like, huh. And again, it was one of those moments you're like, oh no, like you already knew it as she's saying it. Ask him how he knew. This guy was, was part of the, the corruption and was, and had the KKK or whatever.
Yeah, she's
hoodie
just
thing in his
telling
closet
him,
and all that.
yeah.
And as she's saying, you're like, wait a minute, he's in
You
the
just
past.
started this.
You just created, and I love it because you're thinking like, oh man, they're making a time travel mistake here, and they do, and because he's never experienced a paradox, and he just woke up, so he's not really 100% himself to think about the ramifications of what's happening, which allows it all to happen. He goes, huh. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? I love all the egg. I love all the egg on top of that, the egg symbolism and
It's
metaphors.
eggs everywhere.
But exactly, yeah, eggs. Oh my god, it's egg salad. But yeah, it's for real. He just goes, like just the way he reacts to the paradox is the way anyone like, huh? Oh well, that just happened,
Yep.
and there's no one doing it now because he doesn't time travel. That's what I love about it. He doesn't time travel. He exists through his time stream.
Pretty much.
So others affect him. So she's the paradox, not
pretty much.
him.
Pretty much.
And that's what I love about it. And they did that. And then, just moments like that, it was so easy to follow, and they did it, and back and forth, like the moment, and then you love it because like Easter eggs within its own episode, and I felt like it was an Easter egg from something I've been reading for years, like the moment with the, somebody's telling me now
somebody's telling
that
me this, that
I have a lot of imagination, and it's like, they just went back to something that was only happened 30 minutes ago, and I feel like I just got a 2-year-long Easter egg. You know what I mean? Like, it was just genius.
Now, going back to episode 6.
Yeah, we got to give that pop.
So I thought, I'm not going to lie to you, before we even got into it, I mean, the show was already really good, as far as where we were. And I thought, man, this is going to be really hard to, either this is going to be really good or really hard to follow. Because just the way you have to explain that, the back and forth and her taking the place and her living it and all these things, man, it looked visually was
Nostalgia.
amazing.
What a I mean, there's so many elements of this show
Oh my
that are genius.
God.
Nostalgia pills, and then like even when they
Visually.
threw in the elephant, that was so great because everyone was like, elephants have the best memory. They like scientifically proven have the best memory because they use more percentage of their brain towards memory synapses than any other being on the planet, and they're filtering the memories
Through the elephant.
through the elephant.
An
You know, it's like
elephant, bro. That is
it's
amazing.
genius.
That is
So,
amazing.
But yeah, so she's taking these nostalgia pills, and that's what you're coming up with. Like just that little tidbit, and then you already know, like,
and the thing is this, like,
How they
well,
do
you've
this.
seen it already. She was not supposed to take all those at the same time.
And that makes sense. Like, you already think like, like you felt it with them. Again, these are not things that need to be explained to you. You know what I mean? Like, and it's obvious. It's like I don't think you're supposed to take like a
And she just
buttload
took
of
them all.
memories. Yeah, and let alone somebody else's memories.
That roller coaster was amazing. That was a fun episode, man.
great.
That was a fun
The
visually
format was fun. The story is deep, and that's what I love.
Yeah.
Okay, you take 6 and 8, and even you take the Looking Glass. I gotta keep bringing it. It's a great episode too because
No,
it
that one's
mainly
good.
focuses on him. Yeah, it tells his individual story in the Looking Glass episode in a basic, the usual format. Flashback at the beginning. Now you know his trauma, who he is more in better detail, and then you follow his current events of what's happening in the story, and
Right.
but with a better understanding of who he is as a person, and how he's been affected and why he's a conspiracy theory guy and all this stuff. And it's cool because he's basically the Rorschach in the sense that he's the guy that gives you the everyday person's perspective.
Yeah.
Better because Rorschach was such a hardcore hero and such a hardcore person.
Yeah, he apparently didn't see any wrong. Like, you know what I mean? He saw too much wrong on people. Like that.
Exactly.
He was
So
just straight
he-
like a bull.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's almost like Batman, he's the human. When you talk about the Justice League and stuff like that, you still only relate to his perspective. It's hard to relate to Batman because he's a badass. He's a genius. He's a billionaire. He's not an everyday guy. Rorschach, the same thing. He is such a badass, so hardcore. You completely relate to his perspective, but it's hard to relate to him because it's hard to see yourself as him. With Looking Glass, it's like he's an everyday guy. He's a blue collar, everyday guy. He doesn't really, his superpower isn't a superpower. It's basically he learned that mirrors block the reflection of these rays. So what he does is really he's like a therapist. So he is a very extremely intelligent person, that's for sure. But outside of that, he doesn't have any powers. He just covers his face with reflective mirroring to block any psychic waves from any future attack of these squid beings.
Right.
So you get that, and then that's a basic format, but it does a great job of giving you insight of this character. Now with episode 6, we get insight of the grandfather, which is very important. But more important is insight to the story of the villains and everything that is unfolding and what created the Watchmen, which when you've seen the film and you've read the comic books is genius because there's a whole lot of sexuality and vulgarity and all of that, and that's where it starts, you know what I mean, because of the relationship between him and the other guy who started. But everything, and it's history, we're not getting political or anything like that. History is history. There was a time where things were very, very racist, and that was during that time, during this growth, and it makes sense that a hero in that time era to be effective, unfortunately, would sadly have to fake and pretend his
to
race
be somebody else, right?
To be somebody else, which shows the great sacrifice, that it's just ongoing, and that's the sacrifice of a hero. It's not about you, it's about the movement, or it's about the symbol, or it's about the whatever you feel builds a hero. So it gets into that, and there's everything showing the story of the main organization that is the villain of the series. Or is it Cyclops? Cyclops, right?
The Cyclops.
Yeah, the Cyclops. So you have all this stuff, and then I love how it details how then he hangs Don Johnson, even though he's like an elderly man, the Witcher, because he used their technology. So as you're seeing it, you're right away like, oh man, this is pretty smart, and you're just seeing it all unfolding. But then more importantly, it's already preparing you for episode 7, her backstory, how that backstory affects her backstory, because if his son hadn't been traumatized and hated all that, he would have moved to Vietnam, where then Sue's all of her trauma. And then if she wasn't traumatized, her Dr. Manhattan wouldn't have been a thing. So it's this domino effect, you know what I mean? This butterfly effect that is before Dr. Manhattan, because the earliest in her life Dr. Manhattan appears is with her grandfather, in the past in New York 10 years ago when they first meet. So it's so well done in that perspective. But then same thing again with like episode 8, the formatting is just genius. You're going back and forth. You're putting her in place of him, every once in a while to remind you she's living this memory, but leaves you enough to know that it's his memory, without confusing it. Again, every once in a while they flash back to the Tulsa thing. I mean, it's just
that Tulsa thing was also genius, man. Like
the opening scene, and what a great way to get people talking about a dark thing in American history. So again, you don't want history to repeat itself. So it's an important thing to know history. It doesn't matter what affiliation or whatever. It's always good to know mistakes that people have made. It's not good to rewrite history and pretend things didn't happen, even if great people did it. It's smart to know history, so again, you don't repeat it, and that really happened. And no one is. I've never seen a movie about this. I've never seen anything. And then when everyone started researching, because of course the trolls were out there talking garbage, and right away people were like, hold your roll. That really happened.
So funny thing is, I am a big history buff. And the funny thing, man, before this show came out, I had researched this years ago. Years ago?
The attack on Black Wall Street.
I even saw. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos on it. I've read a lot of things on it. And I can tell you one thing, and I'm not. There's no. Again, this is not about right or. I mean, it is about right or wrong, but it's not about your affiliations or anything.
Yeah, it's not about politics or anything.
But the truth of it is that, like, I myself was at that moment, I wanted to do something with this, man, and I've never brought it up to you guys because it's just like one of those things that it was such a dark moment in history that you're like, somebody needs to hear this. Yeah. Like somebody needs to know about this because it's not out there. Like, it really wasn't not out there. It took my research took me a while. I'm sure now things are more reveal themselves now.
Yeah.
But when I was doing things on this, and I love history, it was hard for me to find things on it, man.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that it's actually able to come out through a show, and people can go back and just do their own research now, and hopefully we'll get more about the history of it.
Here's useful hard with and that's where Watchmen, again, these creators, these writers are genius. There's a lot of things like that. A lot of, just one example, there's the elephant that they killed in that town, and there's I'm not getting too much details because it's something we might want to work with. But there's little stories like that. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, the point is there's little stories like that it's like they're great little stories, and then when you want it, like, how do you turn this into something? Like, the best you could do is a documentary, and documentaries, 7 out of 10 times, tend to be boring, you know what I mean? Because of the way the format is. Like, so how do you use this? And that's what Watchmen did. They took something and they figured out a way to use it so they could tell that story, but make it part of a broader story,
right?
And pique your interest in something, and that's what was genius. So, like, little stories like that, unfortunately, you're probably gonna start seeing a lot of this now because everyone does that. Everyone, when they find something a little niche, they jump on it. Oh, this is a great way to do it.
Everywhere.
Now, probably within the next couple of years, we're gonna see a lot of little history stories come out in ways like this. But that's what they did. They broke the code on that of taking something that normally would not get its own documentary or whatever, because it's not easy to do, and they put it in a way that, like you said, now there probably will be a documentary in the next year or so, and it's going to get a lot of pop because now people know about it and want to know about it, so they piqued the interest and left it out there, and it'll bring up more stuff. But again, it was just like a genius way that they did that, and it really was. And the way they presented it, the cinematography, the music, the color, the action, and the way they tied it as a key element in the main story. And really, Dr. Manhattan and actually Regina King's character, sister, what is it, Sister Knight?
Sister Knight, yeah, Avar.
Yeah, Sister Knight, Avar, there we go. She's the main character, but the main element is Hooded Justice. It's really, at least for season 1. Season 2, I feel, is gonna get more into how do you pronounce his name? The Egyptian guy, the what's his name? Jeremy Irons' character. It's definitely, I think he will be the more focal point of it, because he started to be at the end of the season with Lady True. We already know Owlman's out there, so I completely feel that they're gonna dive into him ending up in prison with Owlman. Since they're arresting him, at the end of the season.
So that's what I want to get into. It's your theories on this. It's pretty much what we need to like jump into now, because I think you have a really good. Which I was thinking about it when you were saying it. I was like, I thought some of the things, but some of the things that you said are actually pretty genius. And if they go that route, that would be amazing.
So let's do a little bit of theory talk. Aside from. To get into theories, the first thing I want to do is note that how many great side stories that you were able to theorize while we were watching out through the season as to where Jeremy Irons' character was. That whole thing ends up being, a world that Dr. Manhattan created in Europa. You know what I mean? Like, because you're like, is he in heaven? Is he in purgatory? And you knew somehow Dr. Manhattan put him there. The last thing you thought was that it was a reward, because he was treating it like a punishment. But why? Because he got sick of that, and I love that. They hinted that with this guy is such a narcissist.
He is.
And such a genius, where he even says it takes one to know one when he's fighting his daughter at the end. That's what he says it. And I'm going to tell you right now, I agree with that. That is one of the most genius statements in this show.
The line that he said.
Yeah, because usually Dr. Manhattan didn't ask to be Dr. Manhattan.
Right.
But like he said, anybody who thinks that they can and should be a God must be stopped at all causes for being God, because that is a level of vanity and narcissism that's unapproachable. And then when she says, how do you know? He's like, takes one to know one, because he knows that I can't have these fucking powers because I would be fucking ruthless. And he proved it, because that's why he hated that world. And then even when he puts that guy to sleep, that guy's dying, and he's like, "Was I a worthy adversary?" No, like
No.
totally, like this guy's dying. The last thing he hears before he dies is like, "No, your life was shit. You're
You
worth
suck.
it. You're worth it." Sorry for profanity,
Which,
but yeah,
man, I couldn't believe that was this guy, bro.
Oh yeah, from
Tom Missing from
Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow, and he's great. He's great because he plays so many different versions of himself. I mean, he's fantastic.
He is.
Yeah. And Jerry Irons is fantastic. And just like, again, with the Easter eggs, we're going to go into theories in a second. Again, with the Easter eggs, when you realized it, when he was getting sprayed with gold, right? They're like, wait a minute, that statue was actually him.
Yeah, that was him the whole time. That statue was
That
him.
was crazy. You're like, wait a minute, that statue is actually him. She has him on ice, so she's ready to unfreeze him for the moment of all of this. Like, it just goes to show her vanity. I mean, it's crazy. And she ended up being the worst villain. Like, here you are thinking she's helping.
Yeah,
she was worse than Cyclops. She was worse than that. Like, she actually had the plot, and again, built on the road to sin is built on good intentions.
Yeah.
But for her, it wasn't intentions; it was excuses. Those were her excuses for becoming a Dr. Manhattan. But so theories, and speaking of Dr. Manhattan, I know that's the one you want to get into because it's my biggest theory. Moving forward. So we know, and I know you knew it once the grandfather said, and the whole audience I'm sure knew this, and probably a lot of people are going to share my my theory, and then we'll go into some of the other micro theories. But once he said you have to break a couple eggs to make an omelet.
Yeah.
And we already knew what she meant because we already flashback episode 8, genius, and when she says, so you could put your powers into this egg. You could create whatever. And they had that whole conversation about how he could pass his powers to someone else. And for a moment, I thought he was going to pass the powers through the goop that once was the senator. And she was going to have to eat that goop because, the show, it's HBO and it's Watchmen. Like, they might make her eat blood and stuff, just to become a Dr. Manhattan. But he used that actually to teleport the other here, Looking Glass, and I forget her name.
Looking Glass and Ozymandias.
Yeah, Ozymandias and what's her name? What is it? Something.
Jane.
Yeah, the Wonder Woman. Yeah, the Wonder Woman of the Watchmen.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. So he teleports them. So we're like, oh man. But then when you get that clue, like, okay, he did do it, and he did it, and you knew it right away. It's like when he was making the breakfast in the kitchen. Yeah. And it goes back again. It was a two-parter. He says it's important you see me on the pool like this. For that episode itself, episode 8, you knew that meant because you're about to see me get vaporized and teleported. And it's more important you see me like this. Yep. Glowing, happy, you know what I mean, in the moment. But then it also leads to what ends up happening at the end of her attempting to walk on water after eating the egg. Yeah. So, and I love that they left it there. Like, hey, it's up to your imagination. Again, like Inception, the spinning of the dreidel, it kind of wobbles a bit and then they cut out. Like, what do you want it to be? So, again, if they don't do another season, I'm good with that.
Of course.
But my personal theory is that she might be able to walk on water or maybe not because it's going to come back later. And what I mean by that is she was shot on the White Knight and supposedly cannot bear children because of the bullet went through, her ovaries and reproductive system. But one of Dr. Manhattan's powers, he can create, therefore he can heal, is the consuming of that egg will heal her and she will be pregnant with a baby Dr. Manhattan. Oof. And I already get into this because they keyed in on a moment she still has the inhibitor.
Yes, she does.
So therefore, if she has to put that inhibitor into her womb or after the child's born, if she makes it that far, because I guess she'll have control of the powers more or less while she's pregnant, that child will get to grow with an inhibitor. So they don't have to focus too much on the kid as a character till later in the seasons. If they do time jumps or whatever, they could have a moment like what happened with him where as a reflex he uses a power he doesn't know about to save his life or her life or one of his brothers or sisters, the adopted children's lives. So they could have a moment like that and then, oh wait, what does this mean? How did this happen? Because he'll grow up with the inhibitor, which is a beautiful thing compared to Manhattan because the memories will never be blocked. So when he removes the inhibitor, he continues being who he was, just now with a better understanding of what a Dr. Manhattan is, because there's no way a child can be a Dr. Manhattan. That's the end of the world.
No, that's
the end of existence. Yeah, that's it. That's the end of existence. You know what I mean?
And we're dead.
It'd be... Oh yeah, Star Trek has done episodes of this, and I mean it's Twilight Zone. I mean it would be complete catastrophe. So it makes sense for them to have that. Now, would it be a main thing right away? I kind of will. They might do it doesn't work. Oh well, the egg was nothing, and then 4 episodes later come back to it. They might do that, or they might dive. I don't know. That's the beauty of it. These writers are genius, and I actually have faith to see what they're going to do, because they did great episodes 1 through 9 of season 1 with no issues. And I feel like they have a game plan. I don't feel they just had one season in the bag, and now they're just going to make it up as they go. I feel they have a strong game plan for the series, because they really went after it.
So
it's a big scale.
So that theory it's mind blowing, and to watch something like that, that's perfect, man. Like that would be like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Once again, like I think that would be a genius way of doing it, man. I really hope that they continue this. Again, I want more. Like you said, I want more. I definitely want more. But I did read recently that the actual director for the HBO series probably will not be taking place part of the new seasons if they do end up doing something with it, which that's unfortunate in my point of view.
Nah, they have to. I mean, I don't think. Why is there a rumor that they might anthology this series?
Yeah, so there's rumors that he just might not take place as the director for the next actually do a season 2.
Yeah, so it's in other words, they're not going to anthology. They're going to continue the story, but we're going to change the
but he might not
lineup
be
of directors.
That's a little.
I hope that's going to be hard, because I don't know what. I mean, there's other great directors out there, most of them in film, actually, but that would be able to give us such unique storytelling. Because now I'm looking for that. Like, I need, like Mr. Robot does that. It's another series, a great series that does that. There's episodes where, as a standalone episode, it's super creative and mind blowing. I mean, you did see the season with you did see that season of Mr. Robot with the Alf and all that, and the TV sitcoms, and that was a very unique way. Again, of telling a deeper story, very different from Watchmen did, obviously, but that's the point, unique. And so now I'll be looking for that in season 2 to get at least 2 episodes, hopefully, that do the same thing, tell me the story in a very different way, because that's what I'm going to be hoping for, because that's what season 1 did. So changing directors at the helm, I hope they pay him what they got to pay him. And
he's actually a creator of this obviously,
exactly.
of this thing. So I really hope that that's money talks, and HBO can do it. They can pull it off. They can work something out. And I really hope to see it again. Like, I really hope to see him take part of it. Like,
no, and I gotta tell you, Yaya as Dr. Manhattan, I gotta definitely just bring this up because it's something we've talked about. That guy could play a Vulcan on Star Trek with no problem whatsoever. I mean, he did such a great job. And I'm gonna tell you, this guy's gonna blow. I mean, he's already blowing up, which again is like I wasn't surprised, but I was surprised. Obviously with the whole Dr. Manhattan thing, and he was surprised. He didn't know from what I saw. I think it was on Jimmy Kimmel. He had said that he got casted just to play her husband. Yeah. But he knew it's HBO, and even a part like that can turn into a huge deal the way these directors and these writers, and they go for it. And so who knows what will come of it. And then halfway through filming, he gets brought to the side and so you're going to be Dr. Manhattan. And I hope you have no issues with nudity, because you can't say no now. you know, so you're gonna have, you got to do it, because we're gonna stay true to the comic books and to the film. Dr. Manhattan goes in the buff a lot. Which they even made the joke on in that moment when he was with the Egyptian, when he talks about, he goes, only you would come in your birthday suit.
Oh my god! Yeah,
have the audacity or whatever to come in your birthday suit. He's like, oh, would you like me to change it? Yes, please. Put in the suit. But he didn't even know, and it blew his mind. But I think he was obviously now, after seeing this, extremely underused as a Black Manta in Aquaman. So that's just like, they really dropped the ball. And I'm really looking forward to Candyman now, because that's one of my favorite all-time horror movies is Candyman. And, the original Candyman is, for me, forever Candyman. So once they're recasting, whatever, I'm like, but now I'm looking forward to it because this guy can act. This guy Yahya is a performer.
He's good.
He is a performer. So I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, I mean, it's a great series. This is a great series.
And then the star, man. Like just to throw it out there, obviously, but because there's not much you can say about her, but Regina King, man,
genius.
She's really good.
Genius.
Like
She's
because
great.
the show, like obviously it's not about her, but she did a lot like for the series, like.
Yeah,
her story, like her character.
She's the focal point. Well. Yeah, she's the common denominator in all the stories. She's Hooded Justice's granddaughter. She's Dr. Manhattan's wife. She's the lead detective, so she's not the main character. That's not the way they tell the story. But she is definitely the focal point because she is the common denominator between all the stories. And with that being said, I mean they picked a great actress. And I think about it, she had not every movie she's been in has been great, but she has been great in every movie or even show that I've seen her in. She always done a good job. I mean, remember Jerry Maguire? Like it's almost hard to think, Cuba Gooding Jr. was higher than life. I mean, he got the Oscar for it. Right. And Jerry Maguire, yet she completely matched him.
Yeah. She did.
And when she's kicking Ari Spears in the face because he was talking about, I always say he's too small to play in the NFL. You know what I mean? Like she's like, no, and she's like, kicking him in the face and punch. I mean, but it just like her reactions, and then you think back to like, man, she's a little sister from Friday. You know what I mean? Like, like how did?
That's right.
Man, she blew up. You know what I mean? Like, wow. And I think that this show has really captured, and again, these are all actors that are already blowing up, already doing well, but that their phones are ringing off the hook now, and she is definitely, one of them. Because even the guy who plays Looking Glass, I've never taken him seriously, really, in anything else. And he's a good actor, and he's good in other things.
And he's been in a lot of things. Like, he's been in a lot of things, too. Like,
it does, but I actually saw him very differently than the way I normally see him as any character. Like it's just so well done. I mean, everything about it. I mean, Don Johnson lost him early, and I mean they promoted the crap out of him. Again, why? So you're surprised when they kill him right away. But just everything about that series, and I'm really looking forward. And a lot of things leading up to what season 2 is going to be about. Who was the guy in that silver costume that escaped for her? I'm pretty sure that's the assistant to the FBI director. What's her name again? The Wonder Woman from Watchmen. Blake. I'm pretty sure it's going to be him. On top of that, we're going to see what's going to happen with the egg thing, what that's going to lead up to. Lady True's mother/daughter is still alive, and she is a pretty wicked person from that little flashback we got when she inseminated herself to create her daughter. So what's that going to lead up to? Because obviously she's inheriting all that money, and maybe this woman cloned herself. Lady True cloned herself, and she's been taking her memories, saving her memories as well, so she can recreate herself. I mean, there's a lot that they have to build moving forward. What's going to happen on Europa? Are those people just like, I mean, their life is to serve, and now they have no one to serve. Are they able to
create something and come to Earth? Like, what's happening?
Who knows? But they need to serve, and they have no one to serve now. So they're over there losing their mind. And you know what? That's, again, because what a great episode. To go back to that, even that was a small story. In episode 8, that was great, was the creation of Europa, how that came from his childhood.
Yep.
Back those when people. He was the watchmaker's son. And beautiful, again, another beautiful story, that these people, with this kid, and, normally you're expecting, oh no, here we go. He caught them, in the middle of having sex, and this is going to be a thing, and they're going to be mean people, and they were really nice people and good people, and that's why, he based his creation on them, and then he actually took the home, as opposed to created a home, he actually took the home over there, teleported. Little things like that, and that's what I love about the show. As a whole, it's a great series. All the little things are incredible. All the little Easter eggs. They had the pirate flag was another moment they showed. Just like every little thing they do, it's fan service.
It is
creative writing, creative dialogue, creative cinematography, great music. I mean, just everything about this show is on point. And again, it's definitely quickly. And one season has become one of my favorite shows. I put it up there with Rome.
It's up there for me as well, man. It's
fantastic, fantastic. And I hope everyone listening, agrees. Instagram us, Facebook us. I mean, fanatically
or,
correct.
or disagree, because you can reach
or
us.
disagree.
Here we go. Here we
do
go. You
Do
can
it.
reach us on Fanatically Correct on PodBean, Google Play, AnyPod for your Alexa or your Echo, Spotify, podcast on. We're on iOS. We're also on we're on iHeartRadio for some reason. I don't know. Don't care. And just give us a review. Review us mainly on iTunes, please. On your podcast on iTunes or your iOS, please give us a review there. Our website is always fanaticallycorrect.com. You can find us our at handle on FanCorrect for Twitter, Instagram, and Fanatically Correct on Facebook and MeWe. I barely go on MeWe, but if you go on there, you put on something, I'll definitely contact you. And you can email us at contactfancore@gmail.com or leave us a voicemail at 786-704-8404. That's 786-704-8404.
We will not pay any long distance. No,
Nope.
thank you.
Nope.
So you can either teleport us a message, Dr. Manhattan style, or I don't know, figure something out. But we're not paying any long distances.
Yep.
So just
Yep.
so you know, that's all on you.
Not
but
happening.
yeah, I mean, I would think, especially this one. Look, we're gonna definitely revisit this. MSK, I'm positive is gonna jump on the show. Posit's gonna love it. He's gonna have a perspective on it. We'll talk other episodes. 6 and 8 just blew our mind, but we can easily do another hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of this. And just quite simply said, I mean, it's just a great show. There's going to be a lot to give, a lot to talk about. So yeah, message us on this episode specifically, because when we revisit this, I'm positive we're going to revisit this at latest when the second season goes to come out, but I'm sure we're going to visit before then. And we'll either play that or respond to your response or replies. What did you like? What characters? I mean, there's just so much to love about this show. I think Watchmen is an incredible series. And
I think so too.
Yeah. And then, to remind of the nerdcessity, watch the film, read the comic books, don't just jump into the series. I think it's a good enough show. Someone who's doesn't know anything about anything that's Watchmen can easily watch this season and still, respect and appreciate all the artistic things about it with no problem. You're just going to miss out on a lot of the Easter eggs and the build-up, but they do a good enough job of telling the story that you could jump in without it. It just, to me, won't be as fulfilling. It just won't be as fulfilling, as a nerd, as a geek, as someone, as a fan, that it'd just be better if you have all this under your belt to enjoy it. So if you can, watch the film. It is a good film. You won't regret it. One of Zack Snyder's best pieces of work, which suckered us all into watching horrible pieces of work. And the comic books too is a great piece of comic book. It's great writing, obviously inspires all this style of telling a story and a perspective and a theme that is just genius. Is no other way to put it. And enjoy that as a necessity. And again, apologies for any static, any coughing, any sneezing, any profanity. It is what it is. MSK will clean up when he can, if he can.
When he can, should he can.
Exactly. But he's only going to listen so much because, he'll have the times on what's spoiler free and what's not. So everything in the middle, no matter what, is still going to be up to, what happened. And it is what it is. Outside of that, we will at some point get you more episodes. We want to talk Mr. Robot. We want to talk Joker. We want to talk The Boys. We definitely want to talk Star Wars, the theme parks, the movies, the Mandalorian. Mando! And I got to say it, spoilers, Baby Yoda. If people don't know about Baby Yoda by now, I don't know how.
What are you doing with your life? What are you doing with your life?
It's like, I don't know what, you're under a rock, like straight up. I envy you because you are completely detached to have not had Baby Yoda ruined for you, because that is literally everywhere and is the greatest thing Star Wars has come up with. So we'll see. And any other shout outs, anything like that to wrap this up, YoPeace?
No. Just please forgive us. And just have some patience. It's
yes.
The holidays, man. You're here, you're having fun, you're gonna be going through them, It's a little long road, but we should get back into it. So that's about it.
We'll get the groove. Here's to I guess hopefully this will air before the new year. So
hopefully
happy holidays. Hopefully a great 2020 for everyone. And lots of nerdism, a lot of more things coming. Again, follow all our social medias and everything we give you the info for, and we'll keep you up to date and try to get you more content and all that good stuff. And thank you for the few of you wives nephews, relatives, or just really lonely, bored people that are taking mercy on us and downloading us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for those we already have, and thank you for those that are now joining us.
Yeah.
And we'll leave it at that. And in case we don't get an outro, this has been Fanatically Correct. Till next time. You crazy kids. It's the bee's knees. Actually, pretty appropriate for Watchmen because, they jump into that era for a bit.
Yep. It's perfect. It's perfect.
So on that note, Omega saying peace.
YoPeace, Peters.
And there you have it, folks. This has been Fanatically Correct. Until next time, you crazy kids. Signing off.